Welcome back to our Next Respect Project talk. Today, I'm joined by a really special group of people, friends of mine who I've known for countless years, who are forever young, new friends. Like we'll start with Gregory Arlt, who is a Emmy-nominated celebrity makeup artist. He is a TV personality and educator. Gigi Gaston, who is a film and theater director, as well as a screenwriter and an Olympian of all things. Bloch is basically a fashion icon in all the ways. He started as a model. He's a fashion designer, fashion stylist, TV personality, podcast host, author. I mean, Philip, I can't get the words out fast enough. There's just so many things you've done, which is perfect for this talk. And Waylon Payne, my dear, dear friend, who I met starring in a movie together, but he's basically a rock and roll star. He's a country music singer, songwriter, musician, actor, just beautiful human being in the backyard of his dad's place in Alabama. So it doesn't get more real and more comfortable than that. So pull up a chair and let's have a conversation about what I believe to be really the fountain of youth. Gigi was just hitting on it, which is basically reinvention, second chances. And Philip was saying it's not about second chances, it's about forever chances. You get to wake up every single morning and define your life and redefine your life. And sometimes pain or failure or loss, the darkest hours are the greatest openings. I love this thought that the cracks are where the light comes in. So I think what happens a lot of the time, and the reason I really wanted to do this talk for people is sometimes when things are really hard and you're really suffering and you're feeling pretty downtrodden or just like shit about yourself because of choices you've made, you really get in your own way and don't give yourself a permission to start again. And I like this idea that we should be forever young and always have a student's mind. Don't be afraid to be a beginner. Don't be afraid to start again. And each of you has really inspired that in my life through our friendships, but also just objectively watching your beautiful careers, kaleidoscope colors sort of unfold and all the many, many things that you've done. So, I mean, I just wanted to start with, what your thoughts about change are. Where did that come from for you? Gregory, I mean, were you raised by a mother, or did somebody in your life inspire you to be unafraid to make changes or pivot?
Okay, so I'll try to rapid fire this because I know we're on a time and I could go on forever, as you can imagine. Okay. So I basically was raised here, born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I'm a rare native. I was raised by a mother who was basically like, she was in human resources, but very like, into social work or working, and was very personable. And my father was an artist, a fine artist. He was a graphic designer, had his own firm, and a fine artist. So basically I was raised by, a mother, two older sisters, and a father who was an artist. So I was raised in a home of total creativity, beauty, all that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of what really gave me my start especially with what I do as a makeup artist. I had no choice. Gladly.
Absolutely. But I think that that's really interesting. I think when you grow up with parents who, as artists, we're so comfortable with discomfort. We don't always have employment. We don't always know what the next thing is going to be. And so we just have to basically accept that we don't know what's next. And I think being immersed in that from your parents must have inspired you to be comfortable with not knowing, living the question. Rilke said, we're living the question. There really is no answer. And the discomfort of that, I think for artists specifically, is sort of it's our native language. We feel uncomfortable, with that discomfort, and that allows us to pivot, I think, pretty gracefully. Philip, your resume of all the things you've done is really endless. And I love that. I feel like I relate because I've like a phoenix sort of risen out of a lot of despair and change, and it just keeps getting better and better, I think. But I just feel like recently you've also made some, changes and gone through some changes, and I hope you could sort of reflect on that.
Yeah, well, I just had open heart surgery last summer, so that was a really huge one. And I think a great quote I learned in that time is the heart can break a million times and still continue to love, or I say still continue to beat. So I think in that, when you come to a point in your life like that, I had an aneurysm and they discovered it by accident and it would have killed me without even knowing. I just would have been gone like that. So I think when you have something like that happen, you're like, oh, wow, I'm here for a bigger reason. I have to do something else. And so being a man of faith, I think that's, you kind of touched on faith quickly before. I think that really inspires you to have change because you have faith. So you think, oh, I can do this. There's nothing I don't think I can do. Whether it's going to be successful in the way everybody thinks it should be successful is very different than being able to do anything you want. And I've really, this year has been a lot of that. Like I started a new clothing line called Omniscient Things. It's a cashmere sweater line. I got it done. It's out there. Is it selling amazing? No. Because the internet is part, everything is a different business now than things I did 20 years ago. Doing it now, you do it completely different. So I think it's very interesting to be able to know that you can do many things and have second chances and infinite chances, but it doesn't mean it's going to be successful like everyone thinks it's going to mean. The success has to come from inside of you. Be happy with yourself that you were able to do this new thing and take on these challenges, because things are complicated now. Things I did so much easier 20 years ago, doing it now is so much more complicated.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really important to remember. I think one of the reasons why I wanted to record this talk and have this talk with you guys is, we can't live in the past, but we also can't run away from the past, and I wonder if when we're talking about, decades of life or second chances, third chances, what have you, can you leave the past behind you? Waylon, I mean, you've had many different chapters of your life, many ups and downs, and you're kind of living your best life right now. So, I mean, how do you feel about your past when you sort of reinvent? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll say this, and Philip, I love what you hit on there. Slim fits small, V-neck cashmere favorite.
And he has a lot of appearances. He's on tour right now, so he needs some clothes.
Okay. Duly noted.
Here's the thing. I years ago adopted, I guess, this thing. So you grow up hearing the golden rule, right? Love. I'll bring a little bit of religion in because that's where I learned it. With the original way I heard it was love the Lord thy God and love your neighbor as you would love yourself, right? Well, so in the mysticism and looking further in it, I guess that the Christ and God would teach that we are all of God, right? So I took the golden rule as, okay, since we are of God, we should love ourselves and with wild abandon, mind you, and only then are we able to help others and do what we're supposed to do. So that's kind of like my adage. If I keep myself in check, and I've never really been good at that because I had to have people that came into my life that reminded me of boundaries. Who would have ever thought, boys that grow up out there on their own have issues with boundaries. Well, we kind of do. You need to be responsible to people. We need to know that we're not out there alone. And when we do have boundaries and we love ourselves and we keep ourselves in check, hey, then you're able to consciously say, okay, how can I be of service now? And you are able to do that. So, and another thing, you were like, a past. Yeah, I have really, really bad past memories sometimes. Okay, perfect example. This is hilarious, but this last weekend on the tour, I'm up in Ojai, California, and little room that I'm playing in, maybe 30 people, the Ojai Deer Lodge. Well, I look up and there's this director that I was almost certain was the director that directed us in Ghost Image, because I really came unglued on him one time on a phone call, and I thought this was him. And so I was like, oh my God, full circle, it was really kind of bizarre when you put yourself into a place where you're trying to be good so that you can be of service. I think that's what we try to do. Yesterday's dead and gone. Live in the now. As long as you have now and it's okay now, then that's good. I had to make that now with that director okay. And so it was good.
Yeah, I mean, I really think there's a lot of truth in that. I find that a lot of people have a hard time with reinventing or creating those second, third, fourth chances for themselves, because they get so caught up in their mind and they really become their own obstacle. They're just not fearless, with, the wreckage they may have created, or just the life they deserve to live. There's no shame, and you can actually just meet those moments and meet them head on. We all have the right to change. My mom always said, you are never stuck. You can change your mind, but it does take a bit of a fearless spirit, and sort of encouraging people to know that just because you had a dark decade doesn't mean it's over. Gigi, you're not last or least. You are top of mind always. You are the most fearless person I know. I mean, starting with being an equestrian Olympian to, all of the many chapters of your life. I mean, let's talk about the power of now, and, the fearlessness to sort of detach from the past and allow yourself to continue to reinvent. You've had so many different chapters in your life.
Well, okay, Liz, first of all, thank you for inviting me, because
Amen.
I admire you beyond, and you've given me such strength in my life when I really needed it. But I have to say, I think that the past is very important. I think that you don't completely drop it, you learn from it. And so I think if you don't learn from your past, you're going to have to repeat it again. So I actually embrace my past. I've had some of the worst past, like I'm sure all of you guys have. I had one great parent, one alcoholic parent that someday I will write a horror movie about, because I don't write horror movies, but I will. And my trainer was horrific. But I think when you have that, I think, first of all, we're like, you talk about change. We are like the seasons of the earth. We have to have change. Humans are about that. And the past, your past and your fear is what is so important to us, because I was told as a kid, fear makes cowards of us all. It makes us do things we cannot do and keeps us from doing things we can. So I say, if you're fearless, I am fearful in my fearlessness.
That's right.
But I don't let it stop me. And if you really want change, and I believe everybody out there deserves change, my last movie, which was hell, but it was all about change and reinventing yourself and second chances. It's called 9 Bullets. They changed my title, and they made it seem like an action thriller, which it's not. It's about, you don't know where you're going to get your second chance from. I may think it's Liz, and I'm totally focused on Liz. And yet, oh my God, it's you, it's someone else. It's my dog. It's a person on the street. We don't know where we're going to get our second chances from. And we have to be open to it. And we have to be fearless, yes, even in our fear, because I have been terrified sometimes in my life and had to keep going. And I had a very great rap gift, which I don't know if I've even told you, Liz, but this story, is that I got a rap gift from Lena Headey, and she wanted to give me a tattoo.
Who was the great villain in Game of Thrones, who was the star of her movie. Okay.
Yeah. And along with Sam Worthington, who was great, and the dean, my little kid dean. But okay, so she goes, you're going to have a tattoo. And I go, I am not wearing a tattoo. I've never had a tattoo. That's not me. Forget it. And she goes, nope, we're blindfolding you and putting a tattoo on you, her and her boyfriend, who's now her husband. So she looks at me and she goes, I believed in you and I trusted you. You have to trust in me. Well, how can you not, right? When someone puts that to you. So she goes in, she blindfolds me. Everybody's crying in the room. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I hope I'm allowed to swear on this. What the fuck has she tattooed on my wrist? What the fuck is going on, right? Well, you guys, she's a very good listener, which everyone here is. And Liz, you are an amazing listener. I know you so well. And it's so brilliant in life to be a great listener. And she had heard the first night we'd met, when we were partying, trying to get to know each other and decide if we wanted to work together, a story of my mother's last words to me at 11:11 as she died. And we all know 11:11 is a magic number. So I open up, the tattoo guy with 75 tattoos all over him is sobbing. Lena's husband sobbing, everyone in the room sobbing. They undo my arm, and there it is. Be strong, don't quit.
I love
So
that.
how does this go
Mm.
with us today? I
Yeah.
think that's the key in life, whether we're
Well,
married, right?
I love
and
that.
it's so funny when Liz and I were organizing this, what did you say, Liz? 11/11, you moved the date so that we would do this on 11/11.
Wow.
That's right. That's right, Teddy.
Important.
But be
That's
strong,
so
don't quit,
funny.
guys.
so
That's
funny.
what's
You moved it to be 11/11.
Yes, yes, I did. I did. You know, it's interesting to hear you talk, Gigi, because, you know, obviously I never want to sort of, you know, make people be more vulnerable or expose themselves too much in these conversations. But I always think truth is the best because we do each other a tremendous favor when we tell the truth to each other, as opposed to introducing our legend to everybody. Like, here's the version of myself I'd like you to know. You know, we don't get out of this alive, right? And it is challenging to be a human being in this body. And the favor we could all do each other is tell the truth a little bit more quickly, because it actually shows compassion and empathy. And it really allows other people the permission to be flawed, scared, all the things you're saying. And the one thing I do want to say, and I don't oftentimes talk personally in these, but I do want to say, I learned very early on that in the destruction of things that are not working, or career failure, and then up and down, and is opportunity. It is up to you if you decide that you know, it is your darkest hour and you're going to get lost there. You can get lost there, but you've got to find your way out, because in the nothingness is the opportunity for change. So I just want to suggest, you know, you guys just to think for a second, you know, in your darkest hours, you know, did they lead you to your greatest victories personally and professionally? For me, they did. Law and Order ended and things were not working out for me professionally. I wrote a book. You know, I went through the pandemic. I was terrified financially in so many ways. I ended up pivoting to directing. I've never been happier directing. So just a little bit of truth serum. I just want to say, you know, if you have something to share and share something specific, I know it could really help people out there to know. I'm not asking for the details, but just to say, is that something you know to be true? Because some people are really suffering and they don't understand that the greatest thing is just around the corner. But you have to be open to it, you know, like we're all discussing. Go, Gregory.
No, you know what? There's so much that's so loaded and so true. I think the key word there is you have to be open to it. And without sounding like a bumper sticker or a cliche, you know, it really is a choice. It's always a choice. And I think if I've ever found myself in a place that doesn't feel comfortable or that's dark or, you know, unfamiliar, I find it, for me, it's important to kind of, I'm a very positive person. Like, that's born and raised that way. My parents would have it no other way. And it feels organic to me. But I do think it's important to kind of sit in the dark places for a bit, to kind of think about it, go within while we go without, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And to explore that and to think, okay, what is the gift here? What have I learned? And I think sometimes it's so easy for us to default to resentment or anger or upset. And it's okay. To me, it's okay to feel upset. It's okay to feel angry about something, but then just where does that go? Why am I choosing that to be my vibration? I'm only going to be vibrating on that. I'm not going to move forward if I'm constantly thinking that, you know, not living in the past, but learning from the past is the most important thing for me. So it's like, if I'm not feeling great about something, the choice is I could feel a little bit better or a little bit worse. And I always choose a little bit better, because then it just keeps propelling and going forward. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yes, no, but that's what it is. I like this idea, you know, that we sort of just need to give it all away, right? You know, there's a younger generation. We all happen to be, you know, contemporaries, you know, we're all friends. We all grew up together in this industry, but it's like, there's a whole other generation behind us. I'd love to give them, you know, a roadmap to not getting in their own way and not just having one act. You know, I've had so many acts and they came out of necessity or what have you, but they've actually been these incredible chapters of discovery, you know, that I just never would have anticipated. And so I just want to suggest or offer up to, you know, people who are listening, you know, that in the wreckage is an opportunity. And it's something you may not even know. I never dreamt I would write a book, or I never dreamt I'd be a director. None of it. They came through. I had to figure it out. And so I do think we live our lives in chapters. Waylon, Do you think we live our lives in chapters?
You know, I think that we do. And Miss Gigi, earlier you were talking about the value of the past. I agree with that 100%. Absolutely. I carry that with me everywhere I go. I think that when you're smart and you pay attention to things, you do have that chest up there to draw from. As far as reinvention and next chapters, I am always going to be that guy who believes that it's right around the corner, because I've never had the great, here he goes, there it is. You know, I mean, I've had several fun brushes, and it's kind of like Tina Turner and Ike when they were, you know, when they were just coming up, it was like really exciting. And there are lots of things that happen. I've never really like fired Ike and gone out and hit my stride, you know, but I feel like I'm very happy in where I'm at, because I'm always able to have new adventures. I just never quit. You know, and it's led to so many different things, you know.
Absolutely. I'm just wondering from you, Philip, you know, what's your greatest story of reinvention? I know you've had so many, but
Oh
you
my
know,
gosh.
yeah, go.
I think, well, really importantly, just quickly to what Gregory was saying, perspective is such an important thing. Life is maybe 20-30% what happens to you, and 70-80% how you see it. It is just that simple. It really, like, every situation is just how you choose to see it, how you choose to respond to it. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. A little lesson I've had to learn along the way, because I like an invitation to an argument. I think, you know, I've just had so many greatest, you know, ways of coming back and doing other things, from the modeling to the styling. I think things just show up in your life. What was very important for me is after styling, and there's never an after styling because I'm still sucked into it all the time, and I do it because I love clothes, I love to do what I do, but it is an interesting thing to become so known for something and do things that are actually historic, that won't be changed. They are part of history. Halle's win with the Oscar, things like that. And then people are like, well, why aren't you doing that anymore? Well, I did that. That was then. Like, people kind of expect you to be the same person, the same character, especially when you have a beloved character on a show. They just want you to be that. And it's like, well, I'm actually not that. I want to do other things. But importantly, I found you have all these experiences that happen, you know, I mean, I can't believe how old I am and how many things I've done, which is amazing. But you have, like, your mind is a filing cabinet. And I had a lot of PTSD. I had a lot of Me Too situations in the modeling industry that, you know, it was the 80s. As a guy, who's going to believe you, even if you say, oh, I was raped or I was this? People don't even believe. In the 80s, there was not even a word for that. Like, that was just like, there wasn't even a word for that. There was no, right, guys? I mean, like, I was a model in the 80s, and you weren't calling anyone and saying, oh, I was raped, and like, just there was no words. Anyway, I had a lot of PTSD, and I did something called neurotherapy, and I did a lot of work to clean out the filing cabinet in my brain that just carried all this stuff. You know, my mom was God bless her, a bipolar closeted lesbian who was a hoarder. Growing up with that was really all kinds of crazy.
That's a show right there.
You know, you just sort of go. I'm just one of those guys. I just go through it. I've never been one to let all that hold me down. And yet, on the other hand, it was in there. You know, it's in the filing cabinet of your mind, and clearing that stuff out in whatever way. For me, neurotherapy, meditation, chanting, hiking, yoga. I had to do a lot. There was a lot of PTSD. But and look at Tina Turner, who just passed. You know, I mean, like,
exactly. I don't mean to interject, but I had such a strange experience with her this past weekend when she passed. I somehow found the last record she did with The Chants, and she walks through the mystic laws of the universe. And I swear, guys, I've got a problem with cigarettes. I've had them all my life, and I'm listening to Tina Turner in Hollywood last week before, and she's doing the Nam Myoho Renge Kyo chant. And then all of a sudden she's talking to me, and she's like, hey, look at this. Just maybe check this out. If you can see your life clearly and trace the cigarettes back to the mother that you never really had, and maybe you can flip that, and maybe we can start to heal it. Well, it's amazing. I'm on day 5 now. No cigarettes.
Wow.
Hey, you know,
Power of
Well,
the mind.
that's a woman who really fearlessly reinvented, and like you guys said, like, you know, fired Ike, and like, look what happened.
yeah.
I'm just curious, you know, for those of us that are here today, again, you know, we've done quite a lot, but I'm curious for each of you. Are you living your best life right now? Or do you feel like the best is yet to come? Do you have that childlike enthusiasm of, like Waylon said, like, what's around the corner? I think sometimes when you don't hit it huge, you kind of maintain that a little bit because you're still always like, well, who knows what could happen tomorrow, you know? So okay, go ahead, Gigi.
Well, I mean, enthusiasm runs through my blood. You know, my mother was, you know, 12 going on 103 when she passed away. You know, I can't help it. You have to be expectant. Expectancy, that's what she used to say. However you say that, Liz, maybe you could take that word for me, leads the way, you know, and be true to yourself. That's the thing. Like, yeah, the best is yet to come. Of course, like, be true to yourself. What did Shakespeare say? Be true to yourself, for as night follows day, thou canst be false to any man. I think we have to be true to ourselves. I was a big rider, you guys. I spent my whole childhood doing that. I lost the left side of my face. See, Cedars-Sinai, 3 months. They all said I would have brain damage. Well, I had it before because I was wild and crazy, let's just say, but they said I'd have brain damage. I'd be scarred for life. I would never ride again. Every bad thing that you could get was told to me when I was delivered to Cedars-Sinai in an ambulance. And I got up and threw the fucking doctor out of the fucking room. And I told him to go fuck himself. Okay. And I went back to riding after 3 months of being healed, right? No scars. Thank you, God. Because I do believe you have to ask a higher power. I don't believe it's with us. It's the thought. Your thought is so important. I can say to young people, thinking makes it so. Watch your thinking. It is so vital. So cut to, I went back to winning. And then I went, I don't want to do this anymore. Not because I fell, but because I had in me stories to write. I wanted to be I started writing my first script from the tack room in between riding 7 horses for people. I sold that script to Drew Barrymore. Never stopped from there on in. And people I would run into today would go, you are such a star. How could you have given it up? How could you give that up? I idolized you. Because they'd say, are you still writing when I bump into them now? And I go, no, I'm writing. And they go, oh, you're writing? I go, no, writing. But I had to give it up because it wasn't my calling. It brought me to where I was going to go. And then something else lived in me. So my thing to kids and young kids out there is just be true to yourself. Because then you can deal with all the shit. And as Liz, you said, ups and downs and ups and downs. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And if I can piggyback just quickly, because I love what you just said, Gigi. It's funny. I've never been a believer in the best is yet to come. Personally, I've always believed happiness is a journey, not a destination. We've hit huge pinnacles and you're like, wow, it's never going to get better than this. Or how can it get better than seeing your work on a billboard or your name in a credit or whatever is a personal best for you. It really is have fun along the way, because that's when it gets good. That's my personal feeling. And it really is about just having that mindset and not outsourcing your worth to anybody but yourself. And I think especially with the people that are coming up and following us and, you know, the younger generation, growing up in this scarcity culture, you know, I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. That person's got a better body on Instagram. That person has more likes than me. It's poison, you know, it's like, don't even think that way.
Now beauty's opened up, don't you feel?
Right. And I always say
when I was young, if you were fat, you were over. And I was fat because I had an abusive father. So I just like drank, not alcohol, ate and drank and became fat. So no one would find me attractive. But now you're attracted, whatever you are, everyone, that's the good part of today, don't you think?
I think so. And I tell everybody, even no matter who you are, whatever size you are, gender, age, etc., there's no other you. People always say, Gregory, how do you feel about all that competition out there? I don't have competition. There's no other me. No one could do what I do, how I do it, the intention I put behind it, my wrist strokes, the energy. And this goes for everybody on this panel and everybody watching it and everybody in the world.
No, this is exactly what I wanted to hit on, which is, some of us, this knowledge you shared is really hard learned. It takes a lifetime to really know that. And some of us, we're just little kids like skipping through the woods, and we always had this enthusiasm and we always were excited about the future. And we were like, and I think that was kind of me, but I've had a lot of ups and downs, but I've carried a lot of light. And I think that's very lucky. I have a teenager that I really want to help instill, the simplicity of knowing that, not everybody is born feeling, just waking up and being, happy and kind of excited about what the future holds. A lot of people really struggle to wake up, get up, feel that they have a purpose, feel that they have a place in this world. They struggle with a lot of depression. They don't even have to come from childhoods of abuse. It's just a chemical imbalance, and whatever they're struggling with, it's hard to say, well, just be excited about the future. Just go find your purpose. That's why I kind of wanted to get into the weeds of this with you guys, because you all seem to do it so effortlessly, but I know that it's not always effortlessly.
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. So, I'm just curious, for each of you, 10 years ago, would you have predicted your life as it is right now? Because go, Philip.
Hell no. Hell no. I'm a contrarian. I saw a movie back in the day called Julia with Meryl Streep and oh my gosh, Vanessa Redgrave and Lil. It was about Lillian Hellman and her friend Vanessa Redgrave fought the evils, and Lillian Hellman sort of became a writer and went into society. And I always thought I was both of those people, So I always had a problem in Hollywood. I really was rebellious to a lot of it. And I really got tired of getting rich people free shit. And I got tired of doing free TV for major channels. And I just was like, what am I doing here? And I thought that leaving was going to be good. I thought, I'm going to walk away from this. If I should fail, if I succeed, at least I live as I believe, no matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity. Well, that doesn't always work out really well, because there are no rewards for having integrity in Hollywood. I just want to clear that up. There's no award for having integrity. Have you seen that award show? I missed it.
They canceled it. It never happened.
It never happened. You don't know what you don't know. That's the biggest lesson for kids. And for anybody young, you don't know what you don't know. So you think this, and you think if I do this, it's going to be that, and then it's going to be that, and then and it's just not always that. You don't know what you don't know. And that's the hardest thing to teach somebody, is that you don't know what you don't know.
And I think to that point, just quickly, I've always tried to not have attachment to outcome. And that is one of my hardest lessons that I've had to learn in my life, because we're always told that if you do this, this will happen. That is not true. Do not have attachment to outcome. Just try to have fun.
I'm learning that now. I'm writing that down.
There you go. We're learning from each other always.
I feel like you and I, Gregory, are like, you're anticipating every thing that I want to talk about, which is, how does that happen? How can you work on that? If you're so hardworking, ambitious, and you have a vision for yourself and you fail to reach that goal, how do you not have expectations, or how do you exercise detachment? I mean, Waylon, you were talking about Tina Turner and her practices, but let's just say you don't have practices. Let's just say you don't have faith. Let's just say that, it's you've kind of had to give up a little bit, kind of meeting those expectations. But I think it's very audacious to allow yourself to be blissfully happy in this moment right now. So without a practice, I know you have one, so it's not really a fair question, but just to say, I think do you agree with me that it is really audacious to say, I deserve to be happy, and I deserve to be happy right now. And I don't want to compare myself to others, because there are people who are doing much more and having far more achievements. Take that.
It takes work to be happy. It really kind of does. And a friend mine who was in the business for many, many years. His name was Billy Joe Shaver. He was a songwriter, right? And he wasn't incredibly popular, but he had a few really big hits and he ran around. Everybody knew his name, right? And he told me many, many years ago when he saw me struggling over this whole relevance thing, or like, what do I need to do to get to the next level? That seemed to be everybody's thing, is we want to just keep going. And he was like, Waylon, you've worked your whole life to get here, and you're talking to me. Guess what? You're here. You're here. We're here. Enjoy it and try to figure out what you want to do next, because you've made it. Just chill out, relax, let yourself be.
I've really struggled with that. I was talking to a friend recently and she said, stop bringing your past trauma with you as if there's like another level you're going to get to. You're already here. You're
Well, and there's lots of experiences that life is going to bring you. It's not about that. I mean, like you're so right. It's like, it's not the best is yet to come. It's like life is a journey. I have had amazing things happen in my life over the past 30 years that I've been doing this as a career or whatever, because you're always looking and searching for something cool, and you're always trying to better your craft, and with that comes experiences. And so maybe just like I said, love yourself enough to make yourself ready and able and available to people, and just like hang on. Like Betty Davis said, it's going to be a bumpy ride, but it'll be great, because like row over there, and who wouldn't have a good time with that, you know? So just be open and go. It's like get your shit together and yourself, and try to keep it in check. And you know what? This is really good too, because we're all asking each other and keeping each other in check. Thank you so much for even thinking of me, Elisabeth, because I mean, like, what are you talking about? You're doing a great work, and I'm just honored that you even thought to talk to me. So yeah.
Well, I just know you rise like a phoenix endlessly. And I guess if I could just catch that lightning in a bottle just for 45 minutes, and thank you guys so much for your time. We are going to wrap it up. I do want to say, well, we can talk for longer. I have nothing else going on. No, but I want to say, we can do it again and again. But that's part of why I do these talks, because if I could really capture a little bit of lightning in a bottle and give it to other people, I do feel what I've really gained from talking to you guys today, and I knew you were the right people for it, is to encourage others, that the best is yet to come, because, of the messiness of life, because of the uncertainty of it all, because of the discomfort of the things that are difficult. Embrace those things that make life challenging. It's going to be the road opener for you. It's when we start to roll around in the difficulty of it all and comparing ourselves to others, and I just failed, or if you're struggling with substance abuse or whatever, whatever it may be, that you're attaching yourself to the way it was and not allowing yourself the permission to step into another chapter entirely. And you all have done so many things in your life, but I know spiritually, emotionally, in all the ways you've really had to, I know you've had to put some work into that. Some of us wake up a little bit brighter than others, but it is a choice to say, you know what, I want to be happy in this life. And what is that? Because you can't compare yourself to others. And guess what? Until you're done breathing, anything could happen.
Right.
That part.
Yeah, that part. So in wrapping it up, just guys, I mean, do you just a couple more questions. Do you think peace of mind for you is a priority? And what does that look like? Gigi.
Wow. I don't know if I've ever had peace of mind. That was I think peace of mind for me is creating. I think peace of mind is walking out and feeling the sun on my face, looking at a rose a different way. I don't know. I feel like, when you talk about all of us and being happy and all that stuff, it's like, I think we have to look at ourselves as human beings that have seasons. I may be in winter today, and Greg, you may be in spring, and Liz may be in spring, and someone's in summer. I think we just in fall, and I think we have to just accept where we are and live in the now. Maybe Maybe when I live in the now, I have peace of mind. Maybe when I look at the woman I'm in love with, I have peace of mind. But then, you get up and you walk out and someone may hit you in the face with something, but I really don't know if I've ever really had peace of mind. It's a very good question. I want to look up the definition when we.
Okay. Waylon, are you excited? Are you excited about what's next? Because you are forever young.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm like 51, right? I don't mind being in my 50s. I embrace this new chapter of life. I'm always creating too, and I'm always trying to figure out new things. And I think it's okay to discover new things too. Like this next year, if I get a break from like touring on the road, I want to get a potter's wheel and maybe learn how to throw pottery this year. I think that would be kind of badass. And if the week ended, we're going to need cups. So, but yeah, I'm always excited about it. I get a thrill out of. Sometimes I kind of feel like it's all, there's always a new adventure. So it's like you're climbing that ladder again. It's always a series of doors that you open and paths you take. So this particular path this time is a lot of fun and I'm having a good time. So yes, I'm very excited about it. And
all right, tell everybody quickly what's going on in your life, because it is pretty exciting. Actually, this is one of your greatest chapters.
I mean, right today. So today I finally have a movie in theaters with Willie Nelson nationwide. His birthday party is in theaters today, nationwide. Hell of a ride of Willie Nelson, and go see it. It's just great. It's one of the coolest experiences in concerts you've ever seen. A lot of love, not an asshole in sight. It was just great.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I guess the best is yet to come. Philip Bloch, what's your superpower?
Oh, wow. It's not patience. It's definitely not patience. It's perseverance. I think, and I'm very intuitive. Like, I know why I'm going to fire somebody when I hire them. Like, it's crazy. And I have a lot of little magical powers, like that I run into people at the right time when they're supposed to do something. Like, I try not to, this whole last 10 years of my life has really been about letting the universe run me. I'm kind of like the Katy Perry song, like a bag in the wind, like just blowing through the wind. And not every day and not all the time every day, because sometimes I lose my shit. Sometimes I get stressed and sometimes I think, but it's been really a magical journey to be able to know that you have all these powers. Let the little magical powers that you have be, and listening. What she said about you earlier about being a great listener is really good, and thinking about what you're going to respond to people. Gregory and I were having a communication. Sometimes somebody will write you something and you're like, and you just shoot off the answer to them. And I like to do that, but I like to go back and then read it, and then you think more, you go to a different place in your thought. Sometimes you have to be able to stop and just go a little deeper. I think, again, that's a magic power. And I think so many of us have these superpowers and magic powers, and we just don't follow them or don't believe in them or don't know that we have all this magic inside us. And I don't mean it like airy fairy, it just is.
Absolutely. So in Roundup, I always say, what would be your best piece of advice to give somebody, Gregory?
Lead with kindness. That's it. And there's no other you. I really, that's always been my mantra. Don't think of competition. There's no other you. It's just my through line.
I agree with you 100%. There's a beautiful quote Martha Graham said, basically essentially that, which is like, if you decide to do nothing with your voice, that's on you. But just know that there's no other human being that will ever exist in all of time that has your voice, so just own that and step into that. Gigi.
I would say what's on my wrist. Be strong, don't quit, give back to others, and be grateful. And know that the sun is out there, even if it's behind a cloud or a rainstorm.
Especially all month here in LA. I digress.
Exactly, especially June gloom.
Are we in Seattle? Okay.
What's your piece of advice? Your golden nugget?
Gigi said it best, never, ever, ever quit. And, to thine own self be true. That's always the best thing,
Yes.
yeah, that's it. And be kind. Be kind. There's too much.
Yes.
Here.
Lead with
and
kindness.
especially to yourself, right? Because if we come from
Yes.
abusive backgrounds, we have to be, I think one of you guys said, and I think this is really true, be careful what your thoughts are. Your thoughts become things. Philip, what's your last piece of advice for everybody?
Don't do it for the money. Don't do it for the likes. Don't do it for the power. I'm so mad. I can't think of the person that said it, but I listened to this thing and somebody talked about if all the things I do, if just somewhere 100 years from now or 50 years ago, and somebody is sorting through the rubble and the chaos of life, and they find one thing I did, maybe it's this conversation, and it changes that person, then I did it. I changed the world. I changed somebody's world. I changed the world in some way. And I think not being attached to why you do things is an important piece of advice.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful Sunday. Thank you for being a part of the Respect Project and all of these beautiful pieces of advice. Go out there and do some beautiful things today and forever. So bye. Thank you for being a part of
Lovely
the
meeting
Respect
you all.
Project.
Thank you, Liz.
Carol,
Good luck
thank
with
you
the
so much.
movie.
Bye-bye.
All right. Peace.